Welcome back, everyone. We have lasagna that's in the oven. We have some boiling water on the stove that we made our fresh pasta, and we're going to add to that water. And we're going to make a quick, quote-unquote, Caesar dressing. The Caesar salad has been kind of a staple of Italian restaurants since, the 1920s, I believe it was. There was a guy down in Tijuana, Caesar Cardini, who they basically ran out of food in the kitchen. It was somewhere around, I think it was July 4th, somewhere in the 20s during Prohibition. And he took everything that he had left and made it fancy by doing a table side and threw it all together and made a dressing out of it. And there were these whole leaves. So kind of today's version of Caesar has gone to chopped romaine, and they've added anchovies in, which wasn't part of the original. So we're going to go kind of to a little, we have what we have in the kitchen, kind of like a lot of you might have in yours, and we're going to make our own Caesar dressing. So we have a mixing bowl. The base of the dressing is usually mayonnaise. I'm going to use some Greek yogurt to cut down on the fat just a little bit. I will use a little bit of mayonnaise just so we have that egg flavor. So I'm going to take a big tablespoon and a half. I'll throw 2 whole tablespoons in there. So that'll go in. A little bit of mayonnaise. Probably do the same, about 2 tablespoons. So now here comes that, what do you have left? Well, remember I had a bunch of brioche burger buns from the restaurant, and a few days ago you saw me pull out of the oven. I've turned them into croutons. So they're sitting here. I've kept them in a Ziploc bag. They're incredible. They're going to be the croutons for the dressing. We have some Worcestershire sauce. We use a huge vegan one here at the restaurant. We were using this in our craft sauce, and it's absolutely delicious. So we have Worcestershire sauce for days and days and days. So we're going to add a little bit of it into just a few splashes. You can use either fresh garlic or garlic powder. I'm going to use the garlic powder for this because it'll incorporate a little bit better into that mayonnaise mixture. Because there are no anchovies, I'm going to put a splash of soy sauce in just for that kind of saltiness that the anchovies would bring. So it's still that modern take. I also have just a little bit of mustard in the bowl. I also found some horseradish in the refrigerator, so I'm going to put a little bit of that in there because we can. Just for flavor, not really for spice. Then the really crucial parts, we have the fat in there. We need a little bit of salt. So this one, I'm not going to use the big kosher salt. I'm actually going to use a fine grained sea salt for. Sprinkle that in there, as well as some pepper. And then that finishing touch, the acid that we're looking for, is going to come from lemon juice. So with this lemon juice, make sure you have clean hands, make sure they don't have any cuts in them or anything. We're actually going to squeeze the lemon into your hand to catch the seeds, and the juice will run right through your fingers. So the seeds fall into my fingers, the juice runs through. So this will be kind of a fatty, tangy, delicious dressing that'll coat the leaves pretty nicely. So I'm squeezing a whole lemon in. So I did about 2 big tablespoons of mayo, 2 big tablespoons of Greek yogurt, some soy sauce for that saltiness. There's the mustard, salt, pepper. What else did I throw in there? Garlic powder, and some horseradish. So those are all in there. My hands smell great. I'm going to bring this down to show you my bowl. You can also see I have the pasta ready to go here into the water. It only takes about 90 seconds to do that, so I'll do it at the very end. So I have spoons down here. I'd use spoons over a whisk in this case because this is a thicker dressing and it'll get caught in the whisk. Anytime you have something that's pretty liquidy, you can use a whisk for it, but for this, I'm just gonna mix it with a spoon. So here's my mixture. Actually starting to take on that consistency of Caesar dressing. Also has the color that you're looking for. And now I'm going to just check that the salt level is right. That's really good. I'm gonna add a little bit more salt though. And talk about the easiest complex dressing you could ever make. I mean, that's something that restaurants charge a whole lot of money for that was just made with leftover things. All right, so that's that. I also have a bowl that has romaine lettuce in it, chopped up. At this point, oh, I totally forgot to tell you. I've already taken the cover off the lasagna. Let's check on it. Bring it down to the oven here. So we have the cheese on the lasagna starting to melt. So I'm gonna guess it's probably another 5 minutes or so before we get there. At this point, I'm probably gonna turn the oven up to 425. So the oven's gonna be at 425. I'm gonna get that cheese nice and brown on top and all melted. I can dress the salad here, no problem. I'm not gonna add the croutons in until the very end. And the other thing we're gonna add in is some of this Parmesan cheese. I'm not adding it to the dressing. It's kind of typical to do it. The problem I find with, and there we go, we're reconnected. So I'll add that cheese at the very end. So we're just gonna pour the dressing right in. I'm going to use some, it looks like no one put the salad tongs back where they're supposed to be, so I'm going to use these same spoons to toss the salad. So I put part of the dressing in to start. Let me bring this down. Part of the dressing in to start. I'm going to finish it with just a little bit, but I don't want to overdress the salad. That's where we are right now. I'll add just a little bit more to the dressing. And then something, I think it comes from my mom, that I like to add at the very end is just an extra little splash of lemon juice right on top. So I'll wait to put the croutons and cheese on until we're ready to go. That can go here. It's set off to the side. I don't want it ice cold, so it's going to go over here. I'm going to bring in some parsley. I've already destemmed it, so now I'm just going to chop it. Trying to figure out where my knives were placed. Do you know where my knives are? Here. Oh, I found them. All right, I found my knives, thank goodness, because I'm not a huge fan of this block. So I'll pull out my chef's knife. I'll be right back. All right, so with the chef's knife, I'm going to chop this parsley pretty fine. I'm going to be using this to put on top of that lasagna. I don't want it to cook too much, so I'm only going to put it on for the last few minutes, which I think we're getting pretty close to. So notice when I'm doing this, I'm actually holding the end of the knife down, and you can end up doing this super fast. Like this if you like. The problem is on a cutting board like this, it really dulls out the knife. So I'm much more careful with these knives to just take my time and go through and use the entire knife blade to chop whatever herb is underneath. All right, so there's our parsley. Set the knife here. The lasagna is still going, the cheese is melting. At this point, I'm going to take the pasta that I've made, drop it in the water. It's only going to be in there, like I said, 90 seconds or so. So that's hopefully going to come right back up to a boil. I'll show you what it looks like. So I've salted the water a little bit, but at this point, I'm going to put just a little bit more salt into it. So I think with these noodles, because my daughter doesn't love that lasagna, I'm going to put some butter and maybe a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and that's about it. I might, if she's in the mood, put some garlic in there just for some extra flavor, but we'll let her make the call on that. But I'm just looking for a tender noodle that still has a little bit of a bite to it. This pasta turned out incredible, by the way. It's probably one of the better ones I've made, so lucky for us tonight. Let's put this guy back in here. So I'll pull the butter out right now. Show you this pasta now that the water is going. It's starting to float to the top, which is kind of that idea that it's done. So I think I'm going to be pulling it out right now. It does not need a long time, that's for sure. Whew, that is hot. All right, so it has a bite to it. You can see that it doesn't want to tear apart or fall apart. That's what we're looking for. I'll give it another 30 seconds. So we'll check this guy here. Same thing, I can just feel that it has a good consistency and texture to it. And yes, it is absolutely done. That is great. Oh my gosh. I'm going to add some butter into it at this point and let it steam for just a minute. Still al dente. As it sits here with steam, it's going to continue to cook and get to that still a little bit of a bite, but a little bit more cooked through that my daughter likes. I'm gonna add some salt to it. Not too much though, because I'm adding Parmesan cheese and that's a salty cheese. So I don't want to over salt it. And so that'll sit here, that butter's in here, and it's going to melt. At the very end, I'll sprinkle a little bit of parsley in it. At this point, I'm going to take the lasagna out for a second. You can see it here. I'm going to sprinkle it with some parsley. And it's going to go back in for just a couple of minutes to finish. All right, I'm at that kind of 2-minute mark. I'm gonna put away all of the Caesar ingredients. There are a lot of them to put away. Sprinkle a little bit now of the parsley in with the noodles. Stir this around. You can see they're still cooking. You can see the steam coming off of them. All right, I'm going to add a little bit more cheese and salt. And don't tell her, but I am going to add some garlic. So that pasta is ready to go. The lasagna is probably 30 seconds away from being ready. So at this point, I'm going to take my salad. I'm going to add in the cheese that I was saying I was going to add right now. I'm going to add the croutons in. Set this on the table, and then we'll plate that lasagna. Caesar salad going on the table. Grab this guy here. And holy cow, this looks awesome. There is the lasagna. You can see all the layers there on the side. Wow. I'll make sure to take a good picture of the finished product as it sits there. I hope you enjoy yours if you make it along, and if not, enjoy whatever it is you're eating tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow.